son. Skin to skin, bones to clones. Never leave your mind.
Welcome, friends, family, and disgruntled listeners, to the second edition of To the Maroon, a show about everything and nothing. I'm your host, Danny, aka Mr. Maroon, and this will be my first attempt actually at a solo pod, and I'm not gonna lie if I didn't say that I was a little nervous on this one because now I have no one to fall back on. I have no one to bounce my crazy ideas with, just an echo chamber of stupidity now. So, and after rewatching this to make an intro for it, I notice I say not only a lot of maroon things, because that's the point of the show, I say anyway a lot. I mean, I think I say it like 5,073 times in this pod, especially towards the end of the sports section and a lot during the Penguin breakdown. So it's kind of like my thinking word, I guess, which is ridiculous. So if you want a fun drinking game, take a swig of beer or a shot every time I say anyway. You will be hammered within 5 minutes. You will be probably alcohol poisoned by the end of the podcast. So yeah, anyway, I got to work on that. Or maybe not. Anyway, see, I just did it twice. Oh, and I call Scott Hansen the red zone guy, Chris Hansen. So apologies about that, Scott Hansen. So in this pod, I'll be talking briefly about the MLB playoffs, my non-Farhan rant. Why? Because it already happened. Celebrate good times, come on. I do a lot of singing in this pod, by the way, so heads up. I'll also have an epic rant on Good Morning Football, NFL Week 4 breakdowns, and I'll end it with a lengthy, one-sided discussion of my new favorite show, The Penguin. And since I won't have time to get my breakdowns before the MLB divisional series, really quick, I just want to get it on record that I like the following teams: Padres over the Dodgers, Phillies over the Mets, Yankees over the Royals, and Tigers over Believeland. I can't say they're Guardians. I'm not there yet. So with all that, let's get to it. Hit it, Philosopher.
100 bar, boy. Get it. West Coast back in the fold, bringing the fire like that Saturn and a window. Sooner or later, gotta acknowledge this game. OG balance with that Minecraft thing. Hood to hood connections all across the globe. Putting these vibes back where they belong. Been better since I stepped onto the scene. Kind of lyrics make your mama wanna sing. Unlock these doors, let me in. It's a philosopher with the gift of being. Musical tracks beginning to the end. California.
All right. I'm just going to kind of launch into this here. I have about a lot of notes. Maybe it's not that much, but it seems like a lot to me because I'm finally writing. Yip, yip, hooray. And I'm just going to go right into these sports topics here. So let's begin. I want to go with baseball. And, I want to keep this brief because I did not get a chance to actually watch the wild card baseball games today because I was working people over here. But yeah, I did want to say real quick that I took a little note on this. Was September 24th. I was watching the Padres and Dodgers game, and the Padres got a triple play to end the game to beat, as they would say, the hated Dodgers, which, by the way, I love it when announcers say the hated insert team. It's like, yes, we all hate the Dodgers, but like you need to like turn the knife, really need to like add that little, the hated Dodgers. It's like, yeah, we get it. Anyway, Padres have been the hottest team in MLB last couple months, I think since the All-Star game. And so my notes were basically they're going to be really dangerous in the postseason. It's like, yeah, no shit. But I really want to see Dodgers and Padres. It seems like that's what's going to happen because They already won today. So as I'm recording this, this is, what would this be? October 1st at night. And obviously I already see the results of the games. So it's going to be a little easy. I was planning to make some predictions on the wild card games and rounds, but because I'm recording this Tuesday night, as opposed to I originally wanted to record either Sunday night or Monday, but I had no fucking energy at all. I mean, just none. I went back to my normal work schedule and I was drained, guys and gals. I was effing drained. So I am recording this now Tuesday night. Feel a little bit better. And yeah, I'm just going to make some predictions here on the wild card rounds. And honestly, by the time you hear this, and this is probably online, all these will be wrong. So that'll be fun. But anyway, so I really want to see LA and San Diego because the Padres are the hottest. They're the hottest. Can't even talk sometimes. They're the hottest team in baseball. And so, yeah, that's going to be a fun series, man. Dodgers, Padres, divisional matchup. Let's go. So the other divisional matchup that looks like it's going to happen for sure is also Mets, Philly in the other NLDS. And I think Mets are probably going to close out the Brewers just because they just seem like they're playing really, really hot right now towards the end of the year. They have that Uncle Mo on their side. And it just, I don't know, Mets, Phillies, and Padres, Dodgers. That just sounds right. And so over on the AL side will be it's right now Houston and Detroit. I feel like even though Houston lost today, they've been playing. I've been watching Houston games now last month or two, and they've been in like playoff mode for a while. I think they were 10 games back, 10 or 15 games back beginning of the year because of all the injuries. And Houston's just been in like playoff mode. Every game is like 3-1, 3-2, 4-3. Every single game is that like classic pitching playoff score. And what happened is they lost today because they went against Skubal. And Skubal is no fucking joke. So by the time this is out there, the Astros will probably be eliminated, but I think they're going to come back and they're going to play the Guardians in the ALDS matchup. And then the last one, this is the Orioles and Royals playing. This one's tough. I think the Orioles could come back against the Royals because they did lose today and now their backs are against the wall. The problem with the Orioles is that they are all offense. They are just all offense and Corbin Burns. And what happens is when you lose the Corbin Burns matchup, now it's like they really have to step up. And the problem with a young team that is all offense, what do you do when you're losing or you're down? You press. Everyone tries to hit a home run, right? Everyone tries to hit a grand slam with no one on base. Everyone wants to be the hero. And honestly, I just didn't like what the Orioles did at the trade deadline. I feel like what they could have done is move some of their prospects because they have so many prospects. They're log jammed in the AAA team. Honestly, I think their AAA team could probably beat the fucking Chicago White Sox. I mean, that's how shitty the White Sox are, and that's how good the Orioles AAA team is. And, the White Sox, I think they set a record. There were like 121 losses, which I have no idea how that happens in modern day baseball. But yeah, anyway, what they really should have done, now I'm going on a rant, what they really should have done is they should have traded for, ironically, the White Sox Garrett Crochet. He's this really good young pitcher. I know the White Sox were actually asking for a bunch of prospects, but the Orioles have a bunch, and they could have unloaded some, got Garrett Crochet. He would have probably signed an extension and then pitched, and if they could have gone Burns and Crochet, even if they didn't win this year, going forward, like that's a fun team. And they didn't do it. They got scared. They did the whole, let's make some little minor moves. Let's not trade our big prospects. And I hated it. So, again, even though I think the Orioles could come back in this series, I think it's going to probably be Royals, Yankees. And I don't think it matters. I think the Yankees are going to beat whoever. I think if it's the Orioles, they're just too young. And it's just not their time yet. Again, don't like their starting pitching after Burns. Eflin's okay, but he's up and down. And yeah, anyway, so those are my matchups. Padres, Dodgers, Phillies, Mets, Yankees, probably Royals, and then Guardians, Astros. And once again, by the time this is out there and on the internet, these will all be wrong. The Astros will probably be eliminated, and it'll be comical because I'm a Maroon. So anyway, and also to finish off baseball, I was going to have a whole Farhan rant because I'm a Giants fan, and I was sick of that guy, that fucking weasel just screwing up year after year, taking one of the best fan bases just for a roller coaster ride every year to mediocrity. Woo! Here we go. All right. 500. Yeah. Yeah, it just year after year of 500 seasons was just wearing on all us Giants fans. And then he had the balls, the gall, the unmitigated gall, as Stephen A would say, to actually say after this season was done, he did interviews and he was like, we need to give the youth a shot now. Bro, you're in charge of the team and the players on it. We need to give the youth a shot. It was like this desperate Hail Mary of like, guys, please give me a chance. We got to see these young players. It's like, dude, get out of here, man. You're hanging on that 107 win season. And just congratulations, dude. You thought that you were Brad Pitt playing fucking Moneyball over here. And guess what? Turns out you were more like the weasel of the circus, not the star of the show. The elephant in the room has been you, and the Giants finally did the right thing, and they got rid of him. And who did they hire? Buster Posey. Love it. I mean, what Giants fan doesn't love BP fucking Posey? And I'm going to give him some years, man. I'm going to give him a couple years. I'm going to be patient with him because I feel like he's going to make moves and he's going to go youth movement and it's going to take some time, but we got to be patient with him because his age and the Giants are a mess right now. So, yeah, I'm going to be patient with Posey, but anyway, super excited that they got him. And I think the Giants have some optimism going forward. I actually might go to a few Giants games next year because I was sick of Farhan. But here we are. We got the guy. So anyway, that is my baseball little rant section. And so now let's move on to the meat of this, which will be the NFL, baby. I got so many notes from Sunday, so many notes from all the games. I got takes from the end of the games, but I'm going to start here with this absolute rant about Good Morning Football. And this might be a little long-winded, and I'm going to try to channel my absolute frustration and anger when I wrote this rant almost a week ago. About a week ago. And yeah, so let's go here. So anyway, this show, Good Morning Football, is full of the most insane content I've ever seen. And that's what happens when you dedicate 27 hours a day to nonstop NFL coverage. You get dumb, hot takes, you get Maroon statements, and at the end of the day, it's just a nonsensical clown show. Anyway, so on September 25th, you have this NFL guru, Peter Schrager, who I believe lost his survivor pick week 1. I'm not really sure because I don't really care that much, but this is someone who dedicates his whole life, every waking moment, every breath he takes, every move he makes to football. And he can't even pick a correct team, not even just the spread, just pick the team that is going to win. And he can't even do that into week 2 of the NFL season. I mean, it's embarrassing, right? I mean, this is his whole career. This guy watches the NFL draft like it's the presidential debate, living and dying on every word, every pick. He knows all the players, and he can't even pick the correct winner 2 weeks into a season. Not even 1 week. It's anyway, so Peter has this segment where it's called "What's Your Beef?" presented by some sponsor. Because, every single segment has to have its own official sponsor. Our corporate overlords. I love saluting lately. I don't know why I'm saluting all the time. Anyway, so they have this segment where it's called, again, "What's Your Beef?" And you know who he has beef with? He has beef with the fans. The fans who watch the show. He has a beef with the fans' response to his own show. Dude, get over it. You have a show for the fans, and the fans don't like your bullshit. And you have the fucking audacity to call them out? I mean, what kind of logic is that? Anyway, the fans are the only reason you even have a show, you Maroon. Without the fans, you guys wouldn't even have a stupid platform to talk about your ridiculous sport where someone tears an ACL every other play, where it's over-litigated like the American court system, and he calls out the fan reaction to their own segment. I thought you guys were above it all, right? We don't read the comments. This is the ultimate whiny ass position to take. You have a giant megaphone shouting your stupid crap about how you want to suck Patrick Mahomes' dick, and you can't get enough of that Kermit the Frog's Dwayne Johnson in your mouth. And then you have the beef sponsored by Beef Co. What is this, idiocracy? And your beef is with the very fans that are the reason you even make money in your pathetic job. You're ridiculous, bro. Anyway, he starts out his queefy little rant by going, "We started out with the Chiefs, and we had the audacity to start out the program talking about football." No, bro, you started the program giving literal head to your king, fucking Patrick Mahomes, and the people are just tired of it. So next time you want to rant, remove Mahomes' peckerwood from your orifice, and maybe people will actually listen to you. Okay, so Peter continues. Kansas City is 3-0. Right, because it's rigged, but continue with your bullshit. And all we do is focus on that the Chiefs won. That's all we did. Bro, people are on to the NFL's bullshit and the fact that it's rigged, and the NFL is getting scared that people are calling them out. And Peter, again, goes on, "We had the mental fortitude." We had the mental fortitude to say, "Wow, what an impressive win." Bro, how are you sucking Mahomes' dick and your own at the same time? Okay. What do you have, multiple mouths? I didn't realize people in the media had two mouths. I guess that's how they can talk out of both sides. Anyway, Peter continues, "Kansas City wins on the road where the owner was being honored at halftime." What the hell does that have to do with anything people are mad about? What are you talking about, dude? They are mad at the Chiefs getting every call, the fact that they have never been called for a holding penalty in a Super Bowl, despite having an offense that was called for the most penalties on offense, holding calls during the year. They had multiple replays where they are manhandling Bosa. People call that out, and you have a problem with that? What? Okay, so ridiculous. So Peter continues, "We had the audacity to talk about football and not spend 3 hours whining, crying, and putting tinfoil hats on to talk about the officiating." Peter, it's not a tinfoil hat if the aliens are literally on the field waving at you and it's captured on film. Maybe it's not a tinfoil hat anymore, bro. It's on film, you Maroon. It's not a tinfoil hat if it's true. His hot take is, there is nothing crazy to this. It's football. Bro, what? How is your sport, which by the way is classified as entertainment, you can Google it if you want, I was going to Google it right now, but I'm realizing this rant's going to go on forever. But it does. Google it. It is literally entertainment. Then he rolls the tape. Could this guy have been called for pass interference? Sure. Was it called? No. In like the whiniest white guy voice ever. I'm trying to do my best, Peter Schrager. Then he blames Kirk Cousins for not throwing the ball better. This is talking about the Chiefs-Falcons game over a week and a half ago. Bro, what are you talking about, dude? How is there a penalty that isn't called? But even you admit, as you deep throat the Chiefs, yeah, you know what? They could have called a penalty. I mean, and you're mad at Kirk Cousins and the ball he threw? Like, do you want his balls in your mouth too, Peter? Peter? And you're mad at the fans who are finally starting to call out this nonsense? They're starting to call it out, and you're mad at the fan reaction? I mean, does the head chef come out and start yelling at the people in the restaurant for giving them a bad review? You're insane, bruv. You're insane clown posse. This whole show is the insane clown posse. Good Morning Football. And then he shows this Bengals play where the Chiefs benefited from a PI call at the end of the game. Peter, do you get it? It literally 1 week, the Chiefs benefit from the call. They benefit from the PI call at the end of the game. And then the next week, they don't call it. The same call, by the way, pass interference. Wow. Magically, the Chiefs benefit from both. What a shock. And you're mad at the fans pointing that out? Your beef with your dumb segment is you start out the show blowing the entire Chiefs organization and you're mad at the fan reaction? Oh, and Peter thinks that the Bengals call, it was a great call. Dude, pick a lane. You are just talking out of both sides of your mouth, as the media does when it benefits them, and somehow both your holes are slurping the Chiefs. And you wonder why people are, I don't know, a little annoyed with that? Get wrecked, buddy. And then after Peter's done ranting and raving, then Kyle Brandt sitting next to him chimes in with the hilarious comment of, well, guys, Michael Jordan threw Bryant Russell into the fifth row in that finals game. And Peter exclaims with his little kid voice, "Let's go!" Bro, what are you Maroons talking about? So now you're saying that it's okay if a dynasty gets whatever call it wants? You guys can't even pick a fucking lane. Insane in the membrane ain't got no brain. Remember that song? So you're admitting the Chiefs get calls to benefit them. Let's go! Oh, and the argument you're using is that, well, there should not be a call at the end of the game. Just let them play. Okay, fine. Then why do the Chiefs always get the calls at the end of the games? Like Jordan did. Let's go! I mean, it should be consistent, right? Just no one should get a call because it's the end of the game. Let them play, right? Just let them play. But then they do call a penalty when it's for the Chiefs' favor. And now you're admitting that? Then the host chimes in. People are scared of the Chiefs. Scared? People are done with the Chiefs. There's a big difference. I mean, honestly, the more people say stuff like conspiracy theorist or take your tinfoil hats off, the closer you are to the truth, people. Keep digging. Keep on digging. Let's go! All right. I had to get that off my chest. I couldn't believe the balls of that guy in that show. All right. Well, let me take a little swig of water here. Don't know if I'll leave that in. Anywho, let's get to football Sunday, baby. This is why we're here, right? What are we, 20 minutes in? Okay. We're going to get to a little football Sunday now. All right. End of September, week 4. Now teams are starting to form and round into shape. You can start to be like, this team sucks. This team's great. As we do every week as fans, we live and die on every play. Every time a team wins a game, they're the best team ever. When they lose, it's fire everyone. Well, anyway, so we're going to start out. I'm just going to kind of go through my notes here. I'm going to kind of go game by game because I took notes from each game. Some games I took more notes in, some I didn't. I kind of don't know how I'm going to do this format, and I'm just going to kind of freeball it here, but I think going game by game makes more sense. So anyway, so I'm going to start with Cincinnati, Carolina. So, I mean, my first note is Backstreet Burrow and the Bengals are back. And if you don't get the Backstreet Burrow reference, just go and look at his haircut. He looks ridiculous. I mean, it's like the frosted tips from the 90s. I can't even with him. Anyway, so poor BSB, he gets stepped on his own offensive lineman. Probably because they were too busy protecting his blind side, while Backstreet Burrow was singing, "Everybody." Yeah. I mean, the whole time I'm thinking, man, if only the Bengals can cover this tease. Because I want it that way. Right? I mean, it's okay, though, because as long as Backstreet Burrow and the Bengals win, then they can quit playing games with my heart. All right, 3's enough. I think 3's enough. I wasn't going to sing that last one, too. It was too much. I'm going to spare you guys from that pain. So, anyway, it looked like in the beginning, the Bengals were going to lose to the Panthers and Andy Dalton. And so I was just curious, is Andy Dalton showing everyone that he's still a decent QB? I mean, the Panthers just actually looked half decent to start that game. And then the Panthers do Panther stuff. And they don't get a touchdown when they march down to the 1-yard line and they go for it. And they don't get it because they're the Panthers. Another thing I hated with this game was the revenge game. Oh, Andy Dalton. Oh, it's the revenge game. Can we just stop with the revenge game narrative? I mean, Dalton is a 36-year-old quarterback who last played for the Bengals before COVID. 2019, here are his stats from 2019. 3,500 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 14 picks. I mean, who's he taking revenge on? Whoever called him the Red Rocket in the Cincinnati Enquirer? Get over it. Revenge game. Please, give me a break. That's like saying some guy gave you a flat tire back in high school, and you're going to show him by dating like a literal troll. Congratulations, you're still dating a troll. I mean, you're still on the Carolina Panthers, bro. Their biggest moment was either Cam Newton fumbling the ball in the Super Bowl or Jake fucking Delhomme. Remember him? You know what they call the Jake? Is someone who commits the most turnovers to lose a game. This is a quote that Delhomme had. "I had a hand in the 6 turnovers," Delhomme shrugged. "You're not going to beat anybody in a playoff game." Thanks, Jake. That's the Panthers' history right there. So a revenge game, please give me a break. Anyway, Backstreet Burrow and Chase, they're playing pretty good. They're playing like they did a few years ago. Is Backstreet Burrow back? All right. All right, I said I wasn't going to do one more, but I couldn't help myself. All right, they beat the Panthers, and now their season is saved. Or maybe not. Maybe not. I think they play the Ravens next week, and I believe that's going to make or break their season. If they beat the Ravens, then they could totally come back from that division. They'll be right there, and people will be like, "Oh, are the Bengals back?" But if they lose to the Ravens, then they'll be, 1-4, I think? I don't know. At least not winning the division, that's for sure. So anyway, and honestly, they could be back, and they still could make a wild card. Why? Because half the league makes the playoffs. I mean, could they be just not the bottom half of the league? Yeah, they got Backstreet Burrow and Chase, man. They got a shot. Anyway, moving on to Minnesota, Green Bay. Sammy D, early on in the game, rolled out left early in this Packers game, and he throws just this terrible, ill-advised pass that should have been picked. It was just forced to Justin Jefferson, which I get it. And then he comes back literally like a couple plays later, and he comes back with this most beautiful throw of 20 plus yards on a 3rd and 14. A 3rd and 14. And he does a little nice pump fake, and then he throws it to Addison. And I'm just thinking, is Sammy D the most improved player in the NFL? Is Sammy D the MVP? I mean, I know it's early, but he leads the NFL in touchdown passes. I'm just saying. And Minnesota kind of looks like the best team in the NFL right now. I mean, I'm going to look at their. I always like to look at the net points. If you're always curious to see who's really good in the NFL, especially early on, look at the net points. Just go to NFL.com, go to the standings. You can look at the net points, which is, obviously the how many points you score versus how many points you give up. The Vikings are plus 57. Plus 57 this early on. You know who's the second closest team? I'm looking for it, the Bills at plus 39. There is no one else that is 30 and above. It is the Bills and the Vikings. And the Vikings are like almost double. Not almost double. I can't do math. The Vikings are much, almost 20 net points higher than the Bills, the second team. And just for perspective, the AFC North, the Steelers net points is plus 22, the Ravens is plus 18, the Browns is minus 21, and Backstreet Borough and the Bengals is minus 2. So to be 20 net points better than the second best team is pretty impressive. So yeah, that's my hot take. Are the Vikings the best team in the NFL? It's like, yeah. I mean, they look like the best team in the NFC. They really might be the best team in the NFL. And it's like, well, no shit. They look amazing. But I mean, really, if they start out like 7-1 or something like that, I mean, do we now just have to be like, all right, they're for real? I mean, do we have to wait until Halloween and say, oh, the Vikings look scary? Here comes those purple people eaters. One-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eaters. Great song. Anyway, they look really good on defense, and Sammy F and D looks like the MVP. It's only 4 games in, but still, you got to call MVPs a month in, right? Because you got to be one of these talking heads. I called it. I called it back in October 1st. So yeah, the guy who's leading the NFL, you think he's going to keep leading the NFL, and he's the MVP. What a hot take. Anyway, so Sammy D later on in the game scrambles on another 3rd. And he just I'm like, who is this guy? He's throwing, he's scrambling. It's almost like if you place a quarterback in a good system with good players and he gets confidence, he plays really well. Who knew? It's almost like the Jets don't know how to develop a QB. Just a thought. Them and the Bears. It's a thing. So I thought this whole thing was just on the quarterback. No, turns out now it's the whole team. Now Darnold looks like the best quarterback in the league because this is how wacky this season is, because it's football. It's always wacky. And then also in this game, Jordan Love has the craziest interception I've seen, where he overthrows one wide receiver, it goes through his hands, and then it goes to another Packer receiver, and then it goes through his hands, and then Minnesota picks off the ball. I mean, it was almost like it was meant to be picked off. No love for Jordan Love. So anyway, Vikings end up holding on to that game, which that was one of the better games for sure in the early slate. And and then the next game I got here, not a lot of notes. Jacksonville, Houston. I know Houston couldn't have got off to a worse start. They had a fumble, I think, on special teams. They just looked like crap for most of that game. And Houston makes eventually a huge stop on 4th down. Jacksonville had it all the way at the 1. They could have punched it in, taken control of that game with a 2-score lead. And what do? On 4th down at the 1 with Trevor Lawrence, they run a quarterback draw up the middle. It's a little too cute. A little too cute. And it's one thing if T-Law scrambles and calls his own number, but it was a designed run. I mean, I don't know what Doug Peterson was thinking, that Maroon. I mean, it says a lot that it's their franchise quarterback. This is their guy. And they prefer to have him run up the middle on the goal line. And so, spoiler alert, Of course, he gets stuffed. They didn't end up getting the touchdown. Stopped on 4th down, and Houston comes back and wins. I mean, just saying, that was the turning point in the game. 4th and 1 at the goal line. 4th and goal at the 1. And they're like, hey, design run up the middle. Like he's fucking Cam Newton or something. Ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on to New Orleans and Atlanta. So New Orleans had a fumble early on as well with the punt returner. I think it was Shaheed. He was trying to field a catch on the 3-yard line. And it's going out of bounds. I don't know what this guy was thinking of gaining from that catch. I have no idea. He's even signaling fair catch. It's like, dude, just let it bounce. I mean, if he doesn't get it, it might actually bounce in the end zone. It might take one of those weird hops. And they get it at the 20. And instead he fair catches it at the 3, running out of bounds, and he just volleyball tips it or something. I mean, if it bounces out of bounds, who cares? You're at the 2. And he takes all this risk for no reward, and he fumbles and gives Atlanta a touchdown. It was almost like he was playing volleyball the way he muffed the punt. It was ridiculous. And so, I mean, honestly, it was almost like he was trying to do that and set the Falcons up for the dirty bird. Bird is the word, because that was a bird brain play. I don't know what Shaheed was thinking. So can we just, Anyway, transitioning. Hard transition here. Can we get rid of all the white uniforms? All those, unicolor uniforms, the one-color uniforms. They look so stupid. They look terrible. The Saints uniforms, they had the all-white today. They just looked ridiculous. I mean, it's like a child invented a Halloween costume. They're going like, I'm a ghost. No, you look like a Klansman. Anyway, Derek Carr is starting to look like Derek Carr again. He's throwing a pass that is right at a defender at the line of scrimmage. It's like, speaking of ghosts, he thought like the defender was ethereal or something. Or I'm just going to throw it through him. I don't know what was going through his head. And anyway, he tried to throw it through the pass rusher's arm. It got knocked down. It was just like, yeah, that's Derek Carr, man. He makes great plays, and then he makes plays that make you go, hey, buddy. Anyway, so the Saints get a touchdown, down by 6. It's 4 minutes left. It's 3rd and 5. And then they run the ball right into the strength of the Falcons defense. It was very odd play calling. Very oddball indeed. I mean, sometimes I'm convinced these coaches just like to throw plays away because we got to make it more exciting. Or they took the under. I mean, it's one of the two. Then Carr throws a really tough ball on the sidelines, like basically out of bounds on 4th down. The wide receiver didn't have much chance at all. And it just, I mean, he tries to one-hand it, and he doesn't even catch it, the wide receiver. It's like, has any coach ever heard of crossing routes at the goal line? I mean, why is everything a fucking fade? Because the quarterback can make that throw in practice? They can make that throw on 7-on-7s? I mean, fades are some of the toughest throws in football. And usually, you want to throw it to some guy who's really tall. They throw it to guys that are 6 feet and under. Like, you throw fades to, as the great Andre Nicotina said, skinny 6'5" motherfuckers. Ideally, not skinny 6'5" motherfuckers, right? Big 6'5" motherfuckers, but you know what I'm saying. You throw it to the tall guy. You go, here you go, dude. Go get it. And instead they're throwing it to these speedy guys running out of bounds. They throw a fade. It's Maroon logic, man. I just don't get it. Then later in the game, Carr had the worst Drew Brees impersonation I've ever seen. You know the thing Drew Brees used to do where he's at the 1-yard line and he jumps over basically the lineman and he extends the ball, right? And he tries to extend the ball over the top. So Derek Carr tries to do it. And if you watch the replay, it's the most comical jump ever. I mean, it's like he had weights on. It looks like he jumps 2 inches off the ground is what it looks like. I mean, talk about setting us white guys back 20 years. I mean, Derek, they made a movie about this with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson, you know? And after seeing that, I'm like, were they right? Maybe we can't jump. Anyway, all right, Rams, Chicago. So in this game, Stafford made a play where he flipped it to his tight end. It was like a slick little play. And I'm telling you, if that was Mahomes, Peter Schrager and the NFL Network would have come back from every commercial break with Peter saying things like, "We don't talk about the Chiefs enough. He's the best. Let's go." I mean, even the commentator made a Mahomes comment after that Stafford play. Like, "Oh, I had no idea that Mahomes invented the flick pass. Flick of the wrist, flick of the wrist." I think Mahomes invented the forward pass, the side pass, the no-look pass. He invented everything. Mahomes is so amazing. I think he invented the Mac and the PC at the same time while composing Beethoven. I mean, I wonder if Mahomes is Ludwig van Beethoven. He just got bored in the afterlife, and now he's reincarnated as our Lord and Savior, Patrick fucking Mahomes. Sorry, I thought I was on the NFL Network there. I was obliged to bow down to our modern-day saint, Patrick Lavon Mahomes II. My bad, everyone. I forgot where I was. All right, back to reality. Back to life. Back to reality. So, Pittsburgh, Indy. Going to that game. Richardson gets hurt because he seems like he gets hurt all the time. I think he hurts his ankle or some shit. Then he comes back and he slides late and he gets hurt again. I mean, even the DB was like going, "Bro, what do you want me to do, man? Like, you slid in the most ridiculous way. Like, I don't know if you're going down or not." It was like, even the DB was going, "Come on, man, get it together." And then Richardson has to go to the locker room and he's clearly frustrated. But man, stop taking like off running every play, bro. Like, every time you run, you might get hurt. And he runs like he's, Josh Allen or something, trying to run everyone over. Dude, he needs to go to baseball camp and learn how to slide. Like, that was the most awkward late slide ever. I mean, it was bad. So anyway, so he gets hurt. And I'm just so thrilled we get to see Joe Flacco again. Oh boy. I hope he never retires. I mean, just a constant reminder for us Niner fans that he beat us in the Super Bowl with Jacoby fucking Ford. Such great memories. I hope Flacco gets to play against Brock Purdy and his kid one day. Not even Brock Purdy, his kid. I hope Brock Purdy's unborn child grows up, plays quarterback, and then 75-year-old Joe Flacco gets to beat him and throw dimes like he's a kid at a fountain. I mean, nothing would make me happier than that. I would just, mi corazón en fuego. So is the Justin Fields experience back? Hard transition. He wins some games. He gets everyone all excited, including me, because I'm a big Fields fan. And then he can't score a touchdown against the Colts for like almost 3 quarters. You're like, what's going on here, dude? And then I look at the Colts defense, what they've done the last couple weeks. 16 points allowed to the love-lost Packers. And then 16 points allowed to the Bears. And who I don't think will be setting any NFL records this year on offense. Just saying. Because the Bears are so good at developing a QB. And so I really can't tell if the Colts got that D or they just played some crappy offenses. Or it could be both. Yeah, that was the joke, Ted. That was the joke. Family Guy reference. Family Guy. Then all of a sudden, we get the full Fields experience where he's rushing for touchdowns. He's doing these hard-nosed runs where he has to run over someone. By the way, what does hard-nose even mean? Like, who has a soft nose? Who's testing noses for their durability? Is some lunatic going around punching people and taking notes? Bam! Hard nose. Good stuff. He's tough. Random sidebar. Anyway, Philly versus Tampa Bay. Not much to talk about this game. This was a blowout. Tampa Bay just took Philly to the woodshed. And honestly, the Browns never should have gotten rid of Baker Mayfield. I mean, he was destroying the Eagles. In the end of the first quarter, he's firing up the crowd and fucking raising the roof, and he's beating the crap out of those Eagles. I mean, he's got moxie, the whole thing. It's just, I don't know why the Browns got rid of him. That was a mistake. I think even Browns fans will admit that. So anyway, there's a note in this game, by the way, that Philly hasn't scored a single point in the first quarter this year. I don't think that's good. I don't think that's a good sign. Anyway, moving on to the Jets game. And I think this is the last game from the early morning slate. Denver versus Jets. And in this game, the Denver running back, Bidet, I believe, he gets hit and he comes off the sideline. And then he apparently collapses and needs a fucking stretcher and a board. Like, he might have really hurt his neck, because this is a fucking blood sport. I mean, really, I'm shocked this doesn't happen like every series. Someone's getting like carted off. I mean, these guys sacrifice their bodies, man, just for our amusement, just for our entertainment. And honestly, last note I have about the early games, what has happened to special teams? I mean, really, everyone is muffin punts. They're, just giving away touchdowns. They're missing field goals, or like the Niners a couple weeks ago, they're punting to someone at the end of the game instead of just kicking it out of bounds, and then they're getting beat that way. It's almost like everyone forgot them special teams is a third of the game. They're just like, meh, we don't need to practice this shit. And now even the red zone guy, I forget it, Chris Hansen, I want to say. Not, Mr. So what are you doing here? Yeah, what do you know? I think it's Chris Hansen. Anyway, the red zone guy says they muffed 4 punts in just the first half of the early morning games. 4 muffed punts. I mean, sometimes you might see 1 a week. It was like, what is going on this week, man? I mean, honestly, during today's football games, I think I saw more muffed punts than I've seen in a lesbian prison porn movie. Oh, wait, I'm checking the tape. No, punts. Punts, my bad. Muff punts. Punts with a P. Wow. Am I tickled? Fuchsia. Fuchsia? Fuchsia? Boy, am I tickled Maroon. I'm losing it like Matt LaFleur did today. Just losing my mind. Anyway, on to the afternoon games. Let's start with the Niner game. Because I'm a Niner fan. Let's go. And, man, early on, they looked good. They drove down to the goal line. And they can't punch it in. Because we have to have CMC and Trent Williams. It's just pretty obvious, it seems like. Although Mason's doing a really good job filling in. Really good. But some of our goal line stuff hasn't looked that great this year. So the Niners, we get an early fumble off of Stevenson, who apparently has fumbled every game this year. Yikes a Mikes, dude. Yikes a fucking Mikes. You're a running back. And you've fumbled every single game. 4 games into the season, you fumbled every game. Dude's lucky he's got a job. A job. And Kyle goes run on 3rd and 4. Looks at his little Cheesecake Factory menu play calling sheet. And then what happened? Purdy can't find anyone open right away after he calls one of these ridiculous plays. So he has to scramble. And still no one is open. And then I watched the replay. No one was open, except maybe Kittle on the inside post. So I can see why he didn't throw it, because he's just like, it's not worth the pick. So anyway, I kind of blame Kyle on that one, but what are you going to do? Then later in the game, Fred Warner makes this really athletic pick, probably the play of the game, and then he gets up and he takes it to the house. And then they're showing the review, and I was waiting for the reversal, and then, Kyle to do his Superman thing, and then figure out a way to blow it, but it didn't happen. They scored. They scored. Good for the Niners. So, yeah, anyway, Fred makes this 4th down stop, because he's the best linebacker in the league, and I'd like to hear those who, think anyone's better. I mean, is anyone better than Fred Warner, linebacker? No, seriously, I'd like to hear. I know this is a one-sided communication here, but you can tell me in the comments, all 5 people that are listening. Is Fred Warner the best linebacker in the league? Because I'd like to know who's better. And by the way, I'm starting to call Brock, his new nickname is Scrambled Eggs, because this dude is scrambling more than an IHOP lately. International House of Purdy, right? Because every play, this guy has to escape out of the pocket because Kyle's drawn up all these amazing plays, you know. And the play is Brock do something. Everyone run different directions. Ready, break. Oh, God. Anyway, Kittle makes a nice catch later in the game. He takes it away from 3 defenders. It was like vintage Kittle. And you're going, right, why don't we go to this guy like every time we go to the end zone? It should be run with CMC or Mason, and then it should be Kittle fades, Kittle play action all day, right? And for some reason, we don't use them. Kyle. And then right on cue, after we have this big lead, we fumble the second half kickoff. We try to run it back for no reason, and then we fumble. We give up a touchdown. Now it's a game, and every Niner fan's going, here we go. Seeing this movie. Luckily, they held on, but it looked a little dicey there for a few minutes. And also, Brock finally hit some deep passes to Debo. Debo, man, snatching chains and making gains. You know what I'm saying? Like, where's this guy been? Nice to have you back, Debo. And apparently, Niners have 30 straight wins when scoring 27 plus points, which is the longest active winning streak in the NFL. But I'm not sure if that is because our coach is a genius or our defense is that good. Because, 27 points per game isn't some like insane Madden level of scoring. It's not like anytime the Niners score, 40 points, they win. And it's like, well, yeah, no shit. Like 27 kind of sounds like that's a good high number. But like, again, do they win when they score 27 points because Kyle's just drawing up all the plays, or is it because the defense is that good? I think you guys know where I'm leaning, but I'll let you figure out if the Butler did it on that one. So anyway, Chargers Chiefs, super quick notes. Seems like the fans are starting to call out the NFL for how rigged it is for the Chiefs. So they said, I think for this game, we're just going to call it a regular game. And lo and behold, the Chargers, who are down several players, are taking it to those Queefs. At least on the defensive side of the ball. And, it was a low-scoring game. And it could have gone either way. But Chiefs had to pull that one out too. Anyway. I'm moving on to my last notes here for all the games. What is this? This is Browns Raiders. And Deshaun Watson, every time he steps back, it looks like he takes 3,700 steps back when he drops back. He just has this thing where he just keeps moving back. He has like the Alex Smith happy feet. He doesn't even stand in the pocket and try. He's like one of these kids playing Madden where his feet are just constantly moving. They can't just stand there because that'd make you a statue. Apparently, drop back means running backwards at the snap of the ball. Isn't this guy a veteran? That you think he'd be calm in the pocket with all those massages. And did you see the Raider also punting in that game? And then after he punted, he flexed. He was mean mugging and flexing after he did a coffin corner. I love it. After all the terrible special teams play that I saw today, a punter does something that may have actually helped his team win. And he flexes on these hoes, bro. Not no flex zone. It's go flex zone. Go flex zone. They know better. All right, I think I've done enough singing this pod. I'm going to spare you guys. I probably won't. All right, anyway. Here we go. I'm going to do some little quick end game takes here. This is kind of rapid fire. Bears defense is legit, because they are. PI, by the way, is the most insane game-changing penalty in the entire NFL. That and holding completely changes the game. But PI is one of, if the not only penalty, where it's the spot of the penalty. So it changes the whole fucking game, as in Saints-Falcons. But Koo does deserve credit for hitting that, because that was not an easy field goal to win that game. So, yeah. Anyway. And also, in the Browns game, there was this holding call on I think a 90-yard Amari Cooper touchdown that would have totally swung the game in the Browns' favor. And they called this ticky-tack holding, and which you can call almost every down. And anyway, that's my two beefs with the NFL in terms of fucking officiating is holding and PI. It seems like it's so completely subjective. You can call it any time, and then when they do, it swings the whole game. So anyway, I said these would be quick, and here I am ranting. All right, so anyway, every game was undecided going into or during the fourth quarter. I think in the early 8 games, like every game was close. Even the Packers game, I think Minnesota was up 28-7, and they came back. The Packers did. So every game is close, which is why the NFL is exciting. Is you never know any given Sunday, right? And I think only the Eagles-Bucks game wasn't close at all. I mean, the Bucks just dominated that game early on because Baker, touchdown maker, he's the real deal. Anyway, Rodgers, who's been playing for 20 years in the NFL, totally didn't read the blitz on his blind side, and he got rocked to end that Jets game. That's why they lost. So almost like a college quarterback. I can't believe he didn't see that blitz coming. Anyway, CJ Stroud leads a game-winning drive in the fourth with pretty much no time left, and that's what good quarterbacks do. That's what good teams do. They play like crap most of the game. It was a divisional opponent that desperately needed a win, and they pulled out a fugly win. And they also didn't call a safety at the end of the game, which was a 4-point win. The safety would have made it 6. The spread was 6. Very interesting as always with that stuff. Anyway, speaking of fugly, that Broncos-Jets game played the game. I mean, I think they played. I don't even know if you can call that a game. That had more missed kicks than a youth soccer game. And the Pats, going to that game in New England, they were coming back a little bit. Their defense buckled down, and this is the Niners' defense, really buckled down and really started to get after Brissett. Our offense only scored like 10 points in the second half, but Brock made some nice deep throws to Debo and Jennings. And so maybe Kyle is starting to dial up some longer throws, or maybe Brock is just really good. Because not every quarterback can make these deep throws. It's just the truth. And so anyway, so Kansas City clinches their game with I will say Andy Reid is a great offensive play caller. He calls this play at the end of the game where he had the running back swing out in motion. And then so Mahomes could read if it was, man or zone. And then the running back runs this wheel route. And he's thrown up his hand too because, Mahomes could have just floated it to him if he wanted to. But because he's Tylenol PM, wait, what? Oh, okay. Let me backtrack. I called him Tylenol PM here. That's funny because sometimes he puts me to sleep. Anyway, because Tylenol PM knew it was man coverage, he was able to throw this easy pass to Worthy, and who's their fastest guy on the team, going across the middle on a crossing route. Well, Kelsey draws the safety in the middle. And then 84, who's Watson, was also wide open. So, there were 3 people wide open on this play at the end of the game. That's a great play call. Mahomes could have picked whoever. He was like, this guy, I'm going to throw it to the fastest guy. So that's a great play call. Andy Reid pulled out their best play to end the game, and that's why they won. So anyway, at least one of their best plays, I'm going to assume. Anyway, then I switch over to the end of the Cleveland game, and Watson can't even get a pass off. It's 4th and 3. There's 40 seconds left in the game. And what is Watson doing, man? He just throw the ball, bro. He had number 3 wide open with no safety help for the game-winning touchdown. He could have just floated it to his running back if he wanted to as a safety valve once he got in trouble. And instead, he tries to be the hero and break away from the pocket and all the tackles to show everyone he's the hero. This is my team. And he doesn't even get a throw off, dude. Yikes, Mikes, bro. What are you doing? Anyway, here's my last notes on football. Sunday, bloody Sunday. This is the Sunday night football game, and man, that was a crap fest. Oh my God. So Bills-Ravens. The game was pretty boring the first half. It seemed like Derrick Henry and the Ravens were just dominating. And they were showing everyone why they are still the Ravens, especially at home. Then Allen makes this scramble throw to Shakir for 50 yards that maybe only 3 or 4 people could make in the league, showing us why he's Josh Allen. And then the game became 20-10 in the third. And I really needed that Shakir to score a touchdown for my dumb fantasy team. It's always about my fantasy team. My stupid fantasy team, that's terrible. All my 2 teams this year are just terrible. Anyway, but instead he gets tackled at the 5, which works too. And then so at least the Bills kind of made it entertaining a little bit in the second half. Oh wait, no they didn't. They got fucking demolished. I forget what the final score was, but I think it was like 10. What was it? Yeah, 10-35. Yeah. So they made it interesting for like a second. But anyway. And so, because honestly, I will say these Sunday night games, these Monday night games, like there was the Sunday night game, Bills Ravens, that was horrible. And then the Dolphins game, Monday night, Titans 31-12. I mean, there's nothing worse than the Sunday night or the Monday night game sucking. After all the hype and the build up and the pomp and circumstances, then the game sucks. It's terrible. Anyway, just kind of like ruins the whole like Sunday fun day experience when like the primetime game is terrible. Anyway, going back to this game real quick, the Bills force a punt, and it seems they're going to really make it interesting. And this is when I think it was 21-10, and they got to stop. And they had the ball, and you're thinking, okay, like maybe make it 21-17, make it a game. The Bills are moving the ball at midfield, and then Allen fumbles the ball on some absurd direct snap to the wide receiver, who like pitches it back to Allen when there's like a defender right in his face. I mean, what a dumb pass play that was. And it's called because these coaches got to take all the credit with the play calls. You know, they got to be like, look, it was me. What a genius play call. They can't just let Allen cook and do his thing, which he was doing. It started to seem like he was doing. And then he had that fumble and the whole fucking game changed. So anyway, and also the Bills kicker, Tyler Bass, so I don't call him Bass fishing. Or is it Bass? Is it Bass or Bass? Here's the thing. I hate that word because it's the problem with the English language. It's like, is it bass or bass? Oh, it depends on the context. What? English. Anyway. So, yeah. And also you knew it was the Ravens game because Derrick Henry fumbles into the end zone and it bounces and rolls around and the Ravens still end up with it. So you just knew it was the Ravens night. It was like, yeah, all right. This is just one of those games. So anyway, that is my my football and baseball notes for the weekend. And I think I'm going to end this pod with a little Penguin. If anyone's watching The Penguin on HBO Max, get ready for that because I'm going to take a little break here and then jump right into The Penguin. All right, so I'm going to end this podcast with a little entertainment. And I think I'm going to do this every week when I do these pods on Sunday or Monday. I'm going to watch a show and break it down. And I know that right now I'm going to be breaking down The Penguin. And if you haven't checked out this show yet, please check it out on HBO Max, The Penguin. It is phenomenal. I cannot stop raving about this show. It is basically like The Sopranos set in the Batman universe. I'm a fan. Really big fan. So if you have seen this show, I'm going to be breaking down episodes 1 and 2 since I didn't get a chance to do episode 1. So I'm going to do episode 1 and 2. If you haven't seen the show, this is your chance to stop this and go and do something with your life. No, this is your chance to, spoilers ahead, because I'm going to be like basically breaking down scene by scene. So if you have not watched the show, skip to the end of the pod. I mean, it's basically this is the end anyway, or buckle in. So I think I've given you a fair warning. So yeah, massive spoilers are ahead for The Penguin, and I'm just going to jump right into it. So episode 1 seems like it follows right after the events of the last Batman movie with the guy from Twilight. I'm just blanking on his name, which is so unfair because he's a great actor. Hang on, this is going to bother me now. What is his name? Robert Pattinson. Jeez. Anyway, so it follows the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. It's like literally right after that. And it's right after the Riddler attack. So spoiler alert, the Riddler's in that movie. Anyway, so they start out the episode with the after aftermath of the Riddler attack. And what a shock. The poor districts are hit the hardest by the seawall explosions. And the wealthy, pristine cookie cutter houses with their private pools and, their nice little white picket fences, those were all spared. I mean, the commentary was not subtle in the beginning. Carmine Falcone is assassinated outside the Iceberg Lounge. I wonder who did it. And, again, no subtlety there. And I'm sure there's no connection to the Penguin, right? None at all. And anyway, so his son, Alberto Falcone, who has a drinking problem that most will find relatable, is going to be taking the throne of the Falcone Empire. Falcone, you think I know how to say this? I've been watching 2 episodes. I'm going to say Falcone. So anyway, so Colin Farrell has this amazing waddle as he's walking in, right? He has the amazing kind of like waddle limp thing going on. And they explain it later, getting ahead of myself, but it's amazing. So anyway, so I'm not sure how he broke into the safe after 3 of like the weakest sledgehammer hits of all time. He just like, he breaks into a fucking heavy duty like wall safe. But anyway, he breaks into the safe and he's basically, getting all this dirt on this councilman who I'm guessing is cheating on his wife. And I can't believe a man in power commits infidelity. What a shock. It's like that line in Harold and Kumar. Bullets, my only weakness. It's like women, my only weakness. Here. So he plays Alberto so well. This is the Penguin, that he gets him to drink. His weakness. Relatable. And he schmoozes him. And he, wines and dines him like an investment banker getting a new client. And they're talking about drops, eye drops. I think, I don't know if he has an illegal eye drop empire. They banned eye drops, I guess, because I'm a fan of them Clear Eyes, which have been banned apparently. So anyway, so Alberto, he's got himself a new drug, a new mistress of the night. And I'm wondering if it's an antihistamine shot. You get it? Because of the eye drops. Oh, you guys get it. You wicked smat. So anyway, so Carmine knew Oz, who Carmine was the head of the Falcone Empire in the Batman movie. He knew he was scumming. I mean, they're all scums, but he knew he was skimming money because the mafia don't play, man. When it comes to their money, the mafia don't play. And it was smart for the Penguin to turn down that little ring of power that he was trying to offer him. Again, this Penguin guy, this Oz, one smart cookie. And so, Alberto does not last long, does he? I mean, as soon as you call another man a bitch, you better be careful, man, because real men don't take kindly to certain words, and that is one of them. So, anyway, he gets popped because he's basically making fun of Oz in his dream of trying to be like a respected gangster. He has this whole like Don Corleone, right? Like, oh, I respect this guy that was in my neighborhood. Everyone loved him and threw a parade. And Alberto just laughs at him and calls him a bitch. And it's like, oof, what a mistake, buddy. So anyway, so Oz at this point goes outside and he's already showing mercy and respect to this kid who's trying to steal his car. Like a true gangster, this guy knows respect. A true man knows respect. And Oz is going around in this car, and because he's wicked smart, he establishes an alibi with the lady of the night. I mean, that's some real gangster shit, bruv. I mean, he never intended on killing that poor stuttering kid. He was just messing with them to see if he could get a trustworthy soldier, and he does. And he builds an alibi. I mean, this is all like within like the first 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, this guy knows what he's doing. And oh man, the dude. So later on, they go back to his place, and the reveal of the Penguin's messed up foot. I mean, that was the gnarliest thing ever, dude, ever. I mean, every toe was like pointed in a different direction, right? And it was swollen like a B had intercourse with it for 5 hours. I mean, the foot was more fucked up than our economy. Ayo! You can make jokes about it, right? Anyway, establishing sympathy for this man early on is genius because it's hard to root for the main character when he's just this piece of shit villain gangster like robbing people and shooting at teenagers, right? So I also love how later on the Penguin hates the Riddler, calling him a madman, setting up a future beef potentially, but also setting up how the villains in this universe, and almost any universe really, this is why they can't unite. This is why they don't win. Because they all have egos and they all want to do it their way. They want to do it their way. So, anyway, him playing both sides, he's blackmailing this councilman and he's getting respect from the G's. I mean, it's just brilliant, man. I mean, the only thing he really did is make copies of this photo. I'm saying, did he make copies of these photos? Like, I'm such a tech dweeb because my first thought was like, are those backed up on a RAID server? I think he just took the photos and that was it. I mean, it's like, dude, make some backups, right? What if someone steals them? What if they get lost? The Penguin needs an IT nerd. I'm just saying. Anyway, so Oz is making moves with the Familia now. The family. You don't want to mess with the Falcone family. And they want to shut his little drug operation down like Darrell Revis used to do. Right? Going back to sports. Anyway. And so then in comes Carmine's daughter, Sophia. Sophia. That's a Walking Dead reference. Can't even do it. Good Daryl Dixon. But you know what I'm trying to do. Sophia. The best Daryl Dixon impersonation I can give you. I mean, anyway, so it's the Sophia comes in, and it's the mother from How I Met Your Mother. Sorry, spoiler alert from a show that's like 10 years old now. The main character, Ted Mosbius Designs, he actually ends up meeting the mom at some point. Well, anyway, second spoiler alert is this actor is played by the lovely Christine Milioti, and I'm finally glad she's getting her flowers because she is a great actor. And Sophia is onto the fact that Oz probably killed her brother. But I feel like a will they, won't they vibe going on here, you know? I got a little sense there. Anyway, and she's a psycho killer from Arkham. And she is one smart motherfucker. And she basically already figured out that Oz did it because he has this new drug plan that only Alberto and Sophia cooked up. And then Oz somehow flips it because this guy is like the master of manipulation. I mean, really. Somehow he flips it and he makes Alberto look like the bad guy to his own sister. I mean, this guy is a master class of manipulation. It's amazing. And even her last line is, I always knew you were capable of more. She totally fucking knows that Oz did it. She just wanted to see how he would play it out. And anyway, it's the scene of this little dinner scene between Sophia and Oz is just both great acting between these two. And they both know exactly what is going on. They kind of skirted around it like two salsa dancers sweating into the night. I mean, it was amazing. So this show, like I said, is clearly Sopranos in the Batman universe. I mean, I think this has a shot of being something special. So anyway, so they establish a little bit more that Oz is a good guy. He helps his ma with her pills, who clearly has some kind of mental issues, probably from her son's dying, and talking about them playing in the tub. And, you know, I just love the way Oz and his ma say noise. Noise. What is he, a noise? He's got noise-like qualities. It's such a fun accent. They don't say first, they say foist. Foist, who is this noise? It's such a fun accent. Anyway, his ma is a smart one too, and she knows that something's up. Even though she's on meds, she ain't no dummy. And he can't lie to his mom. So he tells her the truth about murdering Alberto. And why? Because he laughed at him. And so his plan was obviously never to moita him. And his mom calls him weak and a little puss boy. He says, this is my little puss I raised, because his ma rules the roost here. His ma clearly raised him to be this ruthless fucking killer. So anyway, so him talking to Vic the kid, almost like a son, how his ma treated him and giving him confidence wherever he sort of loses his, and like actually when he's talking to him, Oz talking to the kid, he actually loses his stammer for a minute. So they're kind of establishing that Oz is this like rootable villain, which is kind of interesting. So anyway, Oz plays the respect card with Sal, who now Sal is the other side. There's two kind of big mafia families. There's the Falcones and the Maroonies. The Maroonies, as I'm calling them. And so Sal, who is the head of the Marooney family, is in prison. So Oz goes to pay his respects and he plays the respect card, which is genius because this guy is a master of manipulation. It's insane, like Joker level insane. So I'm saying during this scene, as it's playing out, I'm going, give him his ring back. Just give him the ring back. And he does. And now he has Sal on his side. And when I say the ring, this is a ring that Alberto Falcone was flaunting in the beginning of the episode. And clearly it was Sal and the Maroonies ring. And so when he kills Alberto, he takes the ring, cuts it off his finger, and he uses it as a way to get Sal on his side, which is brilliant. And he comes up with a plan for them to steal from the Falcones, which they're shutting down his little drug operation. So it's kind of like a way of getting back at them and getting the Maroonies on his side. So anyway, the thing is that Sal remembers all the times that Oz schmoozed them over and then played them for his own gain, because that's what Oz does. Oz being the penguin, if anyone hasn't picked up on that or doesn't know. So he knows that he's just playing them right now, right? And, he says the line, I don't work for the people whose loyalty is for sale. Sal. I mean, that's a true mobster, right? Because they don't want this, like, what do you call it? Like a mercenary. They don't want a mercenary. And so Colin Farrell, during his speech to Sal about trusting him, and it's going to take time, he does this little slight licking of the lips thing that I feel like they got from Heath Ledger in The Joker. It was super subtle, but it was a really interesting choice, and I don't think it was by accident. So anyways, I'll be pointing that out anytime I see it, because I find it very fascinating. So anyway, so now we have the car chase, and Oz hiding in the trunk, which is just genius to get away from that. Then he gets into a fight, and he stabs the guy in the eye, kicks him into the road, and then 20 minutes later, a school bus kills him, which was kind of hilarious. I mean, that bus made zero attempt to slow down or swerve. It's almost like the school bus driver was going, I can't miss another drop off. And he just, I'm getting fired here. And he just runs him over. It was like intentional. Anyway, so that guy dies. That's like basically attacking Oz. I'm just jumping all over the place here, but this is what I'm going to do with these notes. So anyway, so now we're at the end, and there's this whole scene at the end with Sophia now confronting Oz because she knows that he probably killed his brother and that he's lying about it. And him lying might get this kid killed, Vic, right? And then he's like getting like his arm fiber wired. Like that was a tough scene to watch, man. And the music is swelling. Christine's acting, her eyes, that crazy look she has in her eyes. I mean, it's just like intense. And then the car crashes, and they all run outside to see what it is. And they find Alberto, who's dead, in the trunk with his ring finger cut off. And so you're assuming it's Sal because it says payback in the trunk, like scratched in. And so clearly Vic, who is, obviously Oz's kind of protege, if you will, the little kid he took under his wing with the stammer. And he told him to crash the car at the Falcone's house and basically make it look like the Maroonies did it to start a gang war, which is brilliant. And then it ends with them enjoying a nice little Slurpee. You got to mix the flavors. So anyway, that's episode 1. Episode 2 is a good one. I mean, these are all good episodes, but episode 2 starts with Sophia seemingly scared to enter Arkham, which is good character development. Shows that she wasn't always super crazy. And I'm guessing we're going to see some character development and how she went a little bananas and also kind of humanized her a little bit, right? So anyway, so Sophia sees her brother with the finger chopped off, and then he gets shot. So this is clearly like a flashback. It's a flashback in terms of setting, but it's in the future in terms of action, which is pretty genius. So anyway, so then she has this moving red light, and it looks like there's like a therapist or psych that's trying to help her get better. And I believe his name is Dr. Julian Rush, which I don't know if that's like a nod to something in the Batman universe. I probably should know this, but anyway, she kind of gets grounded back in reality. And I'm not going to lie, this doctor gets a little too close to her, if you catch my drift. Like, he seems like he's holding her a little too tight. Like, it seems like there's something else going on there. Like, the doctor's doing more than just healing her, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so next scene, Oz is drinking some Pepto. It was a nice touch, right? Good product placement, very subtle, but also builds this character that this guy isn't completely in control, or he just needs help like the rest of us, right? Anyway, so Salvatore Maroon is smart enough not to, because now this is going ahead to the prison now. Oz is meeting Sal in the prison. And he's smart enough to know not to just give up Oz to the Falcones, because then not only does he not take the credit for Alberto's death, it makes him look weak, like he couldn't pull it off. And he's not really in charge of shit, right? So Oz basically is playing this geniusly. And Oz has an inside track with Carmine's brother, Luca, or he claims. And he says, I think it was in the first episode. I'm so bad with names. Luca was brought up. But anyway, basically, he must have been one of those guys that Oz met with the family in the beginning. And now I'm thinking about it, I don't think Luca was there in the first episode. I think he shows up episode 2. But basically, Luca is the brother of Carmine. And so when Carmine's son, Alberto, gets killed the first episode, now Luca is like the main guy of the Falcones, right? So anyway, so when he's meeting with the family, I don't think Luca was there. Anyway, made that point. So Maroonies, the family, is saying that Oz is just a dog, but even a dog can be submissive. But yeah, this dog can also go AWOL and become a wolf again, right? Because it's dangerous if you trust the wrong animal. And this motherfucker ain't no dog. He's Danny fucking DeVito. I mean, he's the Penguin, right? Not to be trusted. So Oz had a simple plan. It was to have the Maroonies hit the Falcones drop operation. So as they're moving a large shipment out, right, he's going to be in the follow car, which basically follows the drugs moving in a FEMA truck under the cover of emergency water. And this character, Johnny Five, who's part of the Falcones, walks in, and he calls Oz the Penguin, which I think is very interesting, because I don't think Oz likes that Penguin nickname, because he kind of closes his eyes, he looks pissed off. So anyway, and he has a slight twitch when Johnny Five yells Penguin. So either he hates that name, or he hates Johnny Five, or it's both. Anyway, or he just knew that Johnny Five was going to mess up his plan, and which he does, basically, because he forces him to be in the truck with the drugs instead of being in the follow car. And Oz put a hit out on the truck with the drugs. That was his plan, was to have the Maroonies show up, fucking take basically the drugs and the whole operation, shut that down, and he'd be in the follow car and escape and get safe. So anyway, so now that Oz realizes he's fucked, you can see him trying to figure it out in his eyes, right? His eyes are moving around. He's thinking, he's like, I'm in this car that's about to get hit on, that I put a hit on, and how am I going to get out of this, right? So, and just the way Colin Farrell's eyes dart around when he's thinking, I mean, it's really well done. You can tell there's a lot going on there. And so there's this great joke where first the driver makes the horrible joke about, why do they call seagulls, right? Seagulls that fly over the sea. Otherwise it'd be bagel, right? Makes this horrible joke. And then Penguin says this great joke of, what's the difference between the mafia and the government? One of them is organized. Yeah, that was great. And fucking they're all laughing at it, right? And then shit goes down. The truck is attacked. The driver of the truck, who told this terrible bagel joke, is now shot. And then Oz basically kills the 2 gunmen in the truck. And then Irvad, who is working with the Maroonies and supposed to help this hit, basically gets shot as well as he's coming into the truck, because the truck driver turns around and is yelling how Oz is a traitor. And somehow Oz is able to get out of this truck, and he shoots one of Marooney's men, and then he gets in this car with Castillo, who works for the Falcones. I'm starting to lose track of the names a little bit at this point, not going to lie. But anyway, he plays this brilliantly because now he can blame the whole thing on the Marooneys, and he looks kind of like the hero, right? So because Oz saved Castillo, and he's now bonded with him in the Falcone's eyes, and then he starts to explain what everything went wrong, Oz can play both sides again. And this is what he keeps doing, right? It's kind of his theme. So now Sophia is furious because it makes the family look weak and humiliated, right? And she isn't worried about the money because a true gangster understands it's about respect and loyalty, right? And a family never a family can look weak to their opponents. It's the whole thing. So she's smart enough to already figure that out, and that the Maroonies had help, and that the help is standing right next to her, right? Because Oz is right there. And Luca, who respects his niece, it looks like, because she's talking to them, and Johnny Five, and basically the head of the Falcones. And Sophia immediately calls out Johnny when he says, "Who do you think you are calling the shots around here like you mean something?" And even Luca has respect for his niece because there's this exchange where everyone leaves, and basically he tells, Johnny Five to chill, right? And so anyway, so everyone leaves, and you could tell there's a difference of opinion on how things should be run between Sophia and Luca, and let the power struggle begin, right? And this is what happens with any people with power, any group of people with power. They fight over it, right? This is always what they do. This is just the same fucking shit over and over again. So anyway, Oz immediately playing Sophia, saying he can't find the rat that sold him out. And then Sophia telling him that, or rather, him telling Sophia that she should be calling the shots, planting the seed in her head that's probably already there, right, is genius, because he's planting the seed because he wants to fuck the plant. That is Sophia. Anyway, Sophia smells the bullshit immediately from Oz, and him saying that he owes her was super important because it just keeps planting these fucking seeds, right? Like Johnny fucking Appleseed, right? If Johnny Appleseed was a 2-bit gangster. So anyway, so the kid, which I think his name is Vic, he's now working for Oz. He's looking at this poll, and I think it's a missing persons flyer. And I think he's looking at one in particular. It's like a chick. It looks like she's kind of hidden. You can't see her face. But anyway, I think there's going to be a little foreshadowing there. I'm guessing that's what that is. But anyway, this kid messes up the cilantro order. I mean, that kind of stuff gets you killed in the mob world, right? You can't fuck up the cilantro order. You can't ask for cilantro when someone says no cilantro. Apparently, if anyone doesn't know this, there's a small percentage of people who find cilantro to taste like soap. It's a genetic variation, right? I looked this up, in the olfactory receptor genes. I had to look that up, but apparently it affects 4 to 14% of people in the U.S. population, which is wild. So anyway, Oz is going to give up someone as an inside man, right? Because he has to. And I'm guessing at this point it's either Castillo or Johnny Five. And Johnny Five makes the most sense because he kind of screwed him over. And because of that exchange he had with Sophia, you can already kind of play him as the bad guy. So anyway, they're in a car now. And I love how in this car ride, they're claiming that crime has gone up 42% as they're basically driving around. Wait, let me reverse that. They're basically driving around in this car, and on their radio, they claim that crime has gone up 42%, right? I mean, are they going around polling people that are getting mugged and robbed, and they're reporting it? I mean, I don't know how you can get those statistics, but maybe you can. Also, why would the police leak that info? Or maybe you can just look that up. This is how much of a maroon I am. I have no idea. I mean, maybe you can look up to see how many muggings there are in each city. Who knows? Anyway, so on this, Sophia's called the hangman, which is, a little sexist. Wouldn't it be the hang person? Right? Did they ask her for her pronouns before calling her the hangman? I bet they didn't. I mean, anyway. Allegedly, she killed 7 women, and I'm guessing we're going to find out that backstory to that real soon. So, going back to the Penguin, Penguin's given his quick little backstory about how he was the way he was, how he got in the Falcones, and how he got a made man. And it's a real simple, nice backstory of how he used to hang out in the club. And then he was asked to be Pinchy's driver, which is a great nickname, right? It kind of sticks. And Oz explains how he couldn't drive and he had to learn really quickly, again humanizing him, which is genius, because if you have a show that's about someone who's a mobster, you can't just be a lunatic. Got to humanize him. So he's telling Vic how he had to learn real fast to become a driver, and that's what this world does to us as humans, right? You have to learn quick. You got to adapt or die, adapt fast, and sometimes we don't, and sometimes we do. Anyway, and he's saying he adapted like a motherfucker. So anyway, Oz invites some ladies of the night, and I can't tell if it's just for company or alibi or both. And then we go over now to an itchy detective at a bar who looks like he's looking for a drop, because apparently he used to work with the Falcones. And I can't believe a cop is corrupt, right? What a shock. I mean, never. I never would believe it. Anyway, so Sophia hands him some drugs, some drops, and some money. And this motherfucker sings like Aretha Franklin just immediately. He's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll work for you." What a shock. So anyway, so Oz is given this passionate speech now, going back to him, about how the Falcones and how he plays them like fiddles. No, he doesn't say that. How they spilt Maroony blood. And he does this very subtle thing as he's toasting everybody. He does the little licking of the lips thing again. Again, like Heath Ledger from The Joker in The Dark Knight. And I don't know if that's a Colin Farrell decision, if it's a director's decision, if it's in the script, but it's brilliant. It's either an homage or it's a very subtle tick. Either way, I'm a huge fan. So anyway, so Oz is looking at these photos, right? And these are now clearly of Johnny Five, going back to the first episode. And he's clearly going to name him as his inside guy. And the photos are probably sleeping with Luca's wife. That was my guess. And it turns out, it was. So, yep, nailed that one. Right. Nailed it. And then the head call girl, who I think her name is Eve, says Oz that's not part of the deal, putting her girls at risk. And she's establishing that she cares about her girls, which is nice. Smart, to make her human as well. And she's also smart enough to figure out that Oz is using her and their girls as an alibi for Alberto's death. She figures that out pretty quick. And when she says to Oz, basically, after Oz says, "No one's untouchable," and she says, "Neither are you." I mean, again, great back and forth. And he does this little slick thing again where he, does the bat or the Joker, like of the lips, which I'll stop pointing it out, but it's just every time he does it, I'm like, oh man, it's such a great choice. And so anyway, and I think it's a character choice because I don't remember him doing that in the Batman movie. So anyway, he has a relationship with this Eve character, telling her to trust him, and he's going to open up a new lounge, which is better than the Iceberg Lounge. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 second, man. Anyway, I have to see it to believe it. But again, they're humanizing him, in a way where you don't want to root against him, even though he's a piece of shit Littlefinger-esque character who's just trying to be the Don Vito Corleone. But you still, you want to root for him a little bit. So now Sophia is having flashbacks of Arkham. She had this chain around her neck, like she was Flava Flav, except this flavor of love is insanity. And these flashbacks or nightmares are so vivid, it's making her scratch her own neck while she sleeps. So I'm guessing they might use the neck scratches as a way of doing flashbacks, maybe, or anyway, it was interesting to see how she was literally scratching her own neck because of the fucking chain that she had to wear while in Arkham. So again, kind of humanizing her, right? So now Oz is having a convo with his ma's landlord, who apparently is sort of watching out for her, I guess, and his ma, to make sure her dementia doesn't get her in trouble. Which is fascinating because I never knew the Penguin spoke Espanol, which he does to the landlord, which must be a new addition to the character because I don't remember that in the cartoons or anything. So anyway, it makes it more interesting. And his relationship with his ma, also, he's playing some old school music. They start dancing, promising her a better life. And it's just like, oh, it's just, it's so sweet. And then she says this heartbreaking line, "If my son is a nothing, then what am I?" Right? I mean, the sins of the mother, right? It ain't just the father. The sins of the father are visited upon the children is an old idiom. And, it's a good one. So I think this show is kind of clearly hinting at that, right? And so, anyway, transitioning to the funeral of Alberto. This is now kind of like the last half of the episode. We're going to the funeral of Alberto, and everyone's outside the church yelling, "Send her back! Send her back!" And they're referring to the hanged person, of course, Sophia. And Colin Farrell's laugh, the penguin laugh he does, is so good. I mean, well done, sir. Like, honestly, I think it's time you got your flowers, dude. Or would it be I mean, if he doesn't, it'd be a dissuavis. A dissuavis. So him telling Sophia after his brothers died that his mom, they're having this conversation at the funeral, and that Oz is saying his brothers died and his mom was in a depression. Then after a month, she just gets all dolled up. They go to a jazz club and they dance the night away. And you can see Sophia starting to turn into a fan of his, starting to trust him. And then she has to lie, or rather Oz has to lie and say that she died, his ma, because he's protecting her and he doesn't want anyone coming after her, which is brilliant, right? Then at the end of this, the plot thickens a little bit because Castillo says the detective found some info on who the real rat is. So you're thinking, oh, Oz is about to get outed out here. Outed out? Outed? Outed out? Yeah, anyway. I'm a Maroon. So now this detective, turns out he found Irvad, who was the guy who was working with the Maroonies, and he's probably going to rat out Oz if given the chance. But he's like totally sedated under morphine, the whole thing. And so now the Maroonies think that Oz overplayed his position, which he did, and he has no ins with the new mob boss, Luca Falcone, which he doesn't. And so now Miss Marooney is thinking that Oz broke his word, and that is really dangerous to hear from a mobster, is you broke your word. I mean, that's like, it might as well be the kiss of death, right? And so they're about to kill him, and he has to make the reveal that Johnny Five is fucking Luca's wife. Like, he has to. It's his only play. And by the way, the voice of Miss Marooney is so good. It's like that deep, raspy voice. I mean, it's not one you want to fuck with, you can tell. So anyway, so Oz is having Vic now going back to the funeral because the Maroonies let him go and they let him say, let's see how this plans out. And so going back to the funeral now, it's like the after service, I guess. And Oz is having Vic plant these jewels in a Mercedes. I'm guessing it's Johnny Five's car. And it's going to make it look like, oh, he's fucking Luca's wife because here are these jewels, right? So, and he has this great line of, you feel that heart beating? Let's keep it that way, which is just so good. So fucking good. So anyway, so now you have this funeral service where all these major players that they've set up, they're all at, and shit is going down. You got unhinged Sophia trying to get answers out of Irvad and the Maroonies in the basement. She's like torturing them. And then meanwhile, people are calling her out for being there because people are going, why is she even out of Arkham, right? Whispering how crazy she is behind her back. And meanwhile, Oz is trying to break Irvad out because the Maroonies only let him live if he can get Irvad out of this mess that he's in. And he's also trying to plant evidence against Johnny Five while Luca's at the service. So there's just like a lot coming together at this service, which is just brilliant. It's brilliant writing, brilliant setup. And this is what good shows do, people. They lead up to a climax, stuff doesn't just happen for the sake of happening. So anyway, so Oz then reveals to Sophia that he has one of the Maroonies in the basement. And basically now he's turning Johnny Five against Sophia. So basically he goes up to Johnny Five and goes, yeah. Like, I can't believe you guys lied to me and you're torturing one of the Maroonies men. I mean, it's just so wicked smart. I mean, you can't write a clever character in a clever show if you're not clever. And clearly who's writing this show is pretty wicked smart. It's part of the reason why, actually, sidebar, why Tyrion's character fell off the map at the end of Game of Thrones. Because the writers weren't as clever as George R.R. Martin, so the character suffered. You can't write a clever character if you ain't clever. So anyway, so Sophia lets her guard down for a second with her cousin, and they're talking about the old days and how they planned a trip to Italy, and they used to go to Italy, I guess, and they want to plan a girls' trip, and you can tell Sophia just kind of enjoyed being talked to like a normal person for just 1 minute. And then Sophia's cousin, her daughter comes over, and as soon as Sophia bends down to talk to her, right, the mom grabs the little girl and like gets her close to protect her, showing that she has total fear over Sophia. And just the switch on Miliotti's face and her demeanor, it was so good. It's so well acted. So anyway, so now everything is going to crap. This is now the end of the episode. Everything's going to crap. Vic couldn't plant the jewels to plant it on Johnny Five. Luca finds out Sophia is keeping a Maroonie in the basement. And Farrell does this thing again with the licking of the lips when he wakes up Irvad. And I said I'll stop pointing it out, but it's just such an interesting character choice. And so he tells Irvad to tell Sophia that Johnny Five is the guy that basically fucked up the whole drug operation. He's the rat, right? And he's basically saying, hey, just tell him that it was Johnny Five. And Irvad basically agrees. He goes, all right, even though he's all drugged out on morphine, he's like, all right, I'll give up Johnny Five to protect you. And that way he can get Johnny Five off his back and save this guy. So the plan makes sense, right, on its surface. But the thing is that, hang on, let me look at my notes here. Because, yes, that's right. Because this guy never misses an opportunity to take advantage, right? He never misses an opportunity. And then when Vic calls him during this exchange, and he tells him he can't plant the jewels, and then he messed up, Oz completely changes his plan on the fly. And it seems like he's clearly going to kill Irvad, which he does. And I'm wondering how this plot twist, how like he's going to now fix this, because this is fucked now, right? And how he's going to get the Maroonies off his back if he just killed their guy. And now he has to make it look like Sophia did it, right? And they have this super important zoom in on the knife as he's putting it away. Like the camera zooms in on the pocket knife, right? That he just used to kill Irvad. And not only does it focus on the knife in a close-up shot, but it follows Oz putting the knife away in his pocket. And anytime a show or movie focuses on an object like that for like no reason, it seems like, even if it's just for 3 seconds, you know it's some foreshadowing, right? Which they do. I mean, it was very important that they showed that. So anyway, after Luca finds the dead body of Irvad, he orders no one to leave, right? And everyone from the drop that was, part of the drop operation has to be searched. And you don't see the penguin for a minute, so like I'm thinking maybe he plants the knife somewhere. Turns out he doesn't. He still has the knife in his pocket, which is really important because they're now searching everyone for the weapon that killed one of the Maroonies men in the basement, and it's going to really kick off this whole fucking, gang war, basically, this family war. And so they're searching everyone, right? And you can see, Penguin thinking, he's like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do here? And he still plays this fucking card. It's brilliant. He still plays the he's fucking Luca's wife card with the Maroonies, right? Because now it looks like, wait, let me see my notes here. Hang on, let me back up here. Derp, 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 derp. So yeah, you don't see the penguin for a minute. I'm guessing he plants the knife in Johnny Five's car, which is actually better than the jewels, because now it looks like he's fucking Luca's wife and he killed the Maroonie, right? So he looks innocent and he can play both sides again. So, but the way the show is unfolding, you still think Oz has the knife in his pocket, and it turns out he does. So the reveal that he does have the knife still is so much better because it raises the tension in the scene, right? It makes it so much more interesting. And when Johnny Five is brought over for questioning, Oz immediately starts blaming Johnny Five on the spot, which is some quick thinking. And they get in this quick little scuffle and fight. And during that, he plants the knife on him. And it's brilliant because that was like his only opportunity to get him off of him, the knife off of his, body, and plant it on Johnny Five at the same time. At least I think he plants it on Johnny Five. Turns out he actually plants it on Castillo, making him look like the rat the whole time. And the one who killed Alberto, because Castillo was allegedly with Alberto the night he died. So he plays that brilliant. Oz does it again. So now Sophia gets pissed off because she's not able to kill Castillo. He just basically gets shot in the face by Luca because Luca makes the decision to just shoot Castillo on the site. And it's a great setup for the next few episodes, how basically Sophia is going to turn against Luca. So that's genius. And then Oz is making poor Vic, this is now the end, lay down in this grave that he's digging for Castillo and Irvad. And he's saying, yeah, you should be in here with them, right? The way you fucked up. And now this is why you hate Oz, because he's the fucking penguin, right? And yes, he's just teaching Vic a lesson about what happens when you fuck up royally. But he just does it in a piece of shit way because he's a piece of shit, right? He's the fucking penguin. So basically, you know, if Vic wouldn't have fucked that up, then he wouldn't have had to do what he did, kill one of the Marooni's men. But because he did, he's basically pissed off because he almost got, you know, outed and he almost fucking died. I mean, he got so lucky he planted that knife on Castillo. So, because, yeah, again, if he didn't plant the knife, Oz would be in that shallow grave, not Vic, basically, is the implication. So then Oz is giving his best Billy Bean, Brad Pitt Moneyball impersonation of Adapt or Die, right? Adapt or Die. And I think that's the second Brad Pitt Moneyball reference I've made in this pod. So there you go. Anyway, so now Sophia is looking, this is the last scene, Sophia is looking at the graves of her family, but before this, Oz is planting the diamonds at Castillo's house, making him the total fall guy, and making Sophia turn into the badass that she's gonna be and go against her family. And she asks Oz for help, and he responds, "Let's dance." So good. So good. I'm so into this show, man. And I'm sorry for the super long breakdown here. I did not realize that would be as long as it was, but it was more of a synopsis and breakdown of 2 episodes. And I am just really into the show. And when I'm really into a show, as you can see, I am a cinema major, so I really like to break down every scene. And is it a little overkill? Probably, but I'm just basically giving you my whole notes. And I might make it a little bit quicker synopsis next time, but I just love this stuff. This is just fun to me, right? I'm passionate about this stuff. So if you wanted to skip all this, you're more than welcome to. If you're here, maybe you already skipped all of it and you're just going to the end going, this guy's still talking about the penguin after 45 minutes. And it's like, yeah, that's right. I am. Deal with it. So there you go. That is my breakdown of the penguin. I cannot wait to break down episode 3. And I'm going to be watching, I bought my tickets. Speaking of Batman, I'm going to be watching the Joker 2 on Friday. So probably the next pod I'll do, I will be breaking down the Joker, which apparently is the Joker musical. And I'll be breaking down episode 3 of A Penguin. So something to look forward to. Or not. Probably something not to look forward to. All right, well, you've made it to the end. You've made it this far, and your reward is straight to the Maroon. Just want to thank you again for listening, and I'm going to try to get another one of these out Sunday, Monday, which is like my original plan. This week I couldn't get it out just because of reasons, but and also I was debating not even releasing it because of how poorly it went. But regardless, thanks again for listening. I'm going to end it on a good note. Philosopher, take us away.
When we die, who's gonna cry? Does anybody say goodbye? Does anybody ride? Who's gonna funk with me down the way? 100-bar episode by your boy The Train, aka the Philosopher, building back the tracks back to back to back. Believe that. Yeah, he gave it to me.